St Paul's School is a boys' independent school, founded in 1509 by John Colet and located on a 43-acre site by the River Thames, in Barnes, London. It is one of the original 9 British public schools. The so-called Clarendon Schools, investigated by the Clarendon Commission, set up in 1861. However, it was argued successfully that the school should be omitted from the Public Schools Act 1868. Since 1881, St Paul's has had its own preparatory school, Colet Court, which since 1968 has been located on the same site. According to its position in the national tables of GCSE and A-level performance, and with the second highest Oxford and Cambridge acceptance rates of any secondary school or college, St Paul's is considered one of the leading schools in the country. The school is currently being rebuilt and expanded. The work is scheduled to be completed in phases over the next 30 years. History. St Paul's School originally takes its name from St Paul's Cathedral in London. A cathedral school had existed since around 1103. By the 16th century, however, it had declined, and in 1509, a new school was founded by John Colet, Dean of St Paul's Cathedral, on a plot of land to the north of the cathedral. The eldest son of Sir Henry Colet, a member of the Mercers Company and twice Lord Mayor of the City of London, he inherited a substantial fortune and used a great part of it for the endowment of his school. Having no family of his own, his 21 siblings all died in childhood, and he was a celibate priest. He described himself in the statutes of the school as desiring nothing more than education and bringing UPP children in good manners and literature. Originally, the school provided education for 153 children of all nations and countries indifferently, primarily in literature and etiquette. The number 153 has long been associated with the miraculous draught of fishes recorded in St. John's Gospel, and for several generations foundation scholars have been given the option of wearing an emblem of a silver fish. St Paul's was the largest school in England at its foundation, and its High Master had a salary of 13 shillings and sixpence weekly, which was double that of the contemporary headmaster of Eton College. The scholars were not required to make any payment, although they were required to be literate and had to pay for their own wax candles, which at the time were an expensive commodity. Colet was an outspoken critic of the powerful and worldly church of his day, a friend of Erasmus and Sir Thomas More. Erasmus wrote textbooks for the school, and St Paul's was the first English school to teach Greek, reflecting the humanist interests of the founder. Colet distrusted the church as a managing body for his school, declaring that he found the least corruption in married laymen. For this reason, Colet assigned the management of the school and its revenues to the Mercers Company, the premier livery company in the City of London, with which his father had been associated. In 1876, the company were legally established as trustees of the Colet estate, and the management of the school was assigned to a board of governors, consisting of the master, wardens and 9 members of the company, together with 3 representatives each of the universities of Oxford, Cambridge and London. The Mercers Company still forms the major part of the school's governing body, and it continues to administer Colet's Trust. One of St Paul's early headmasters was Richard Mulcaster, famous for writing 2 influential treatises on education. His description in Positions of Football as a refereed team sport is the earliest reference to organized modern football. For this description and his enthusiasm for the sport, he is considered the father of modern football. Between 1861 and 1864, the Clarendon Commission investigated the public school system in England, and its report formed the basis of the Public Schools Act 1868. St. Paul's was one of only 9 schools considered by the Clarendon Commission, and one of only 2 schools which was not predominantly attended by boarders. According to Charles Dickens, Jr., writing in 1879, St. Paul's School, St. Paul's Churchyard, there are 153 scholars on the foundation, who are entitled to entire exemption from school fees. The vacancies are filled up at the commencement of each term according to the results of a competitive examination. Candidates must be between 12 and 14 years of age. Capitation scholars pay £20 a year. The governors of this school are appointed by the Mercers Company and the Universities of Oxford, Cambridge, and London. The school exhibitions are determined as to number and value by the governors from time to time, and the school prizes are of considerable importance. The following are the university exhibitions. To the University of Cambridge there are the following exhibitions. 5 exhibitions at Trinity, founded by Mr. Perry in 1696, of the value of £10 a year. 2 exhibitions at St. John's, founded by Dr. Gower in 1711, of the value of £10 a year, for the sons of clergymen. An exhibition founded by Mr. Stock in 1780 at Corpus Christi, of the yearly value of £30, given to a scholar recommended by the High Master. 4 exhibitions in the same college, value £10 a year each, founded by Mr. George Sykes in 1766, consolidated now in one exhibition, value £36 a year. Between 1886 and 1895, St. Paul's Boys won 173 entrance awards at Oxford and Cambridge, which was 26 more than any other school. Over many years its record of open awards at Oxford and Cambridge in all subjects has been equal or superior to that of any other school of comparable size. School coat of arms. Like many ancient educational foundations, St. Paul's School traditionally used the arms of its founder, John Colet. His arms were sable on a chevron argent between 3 hinds tripant argent 3 annulet sable, and they were originally used by his great-grandfather, Richard Colet. As Dean of St. Paul's, he was entitled to impale them with the arms of the deanery, and the school has often used them in this form also. In 2002, the school obtained its own grant of arms from the College of Arms, consisting of the arms of Dean Colet surrounded by gold bordure, upon which the crossed swords of the Dean of St. Paul's are repeated. Apposition. Apposition is a traditional ceremony at St. Paul's and was originally a way of allowing the Mercers Company to assess teaching staff and the High Master, with the option of dismissing or reappointing them. The assessment takes the form of a third-party opposer, often a leading academic, judging the quality of teaching through scrutinizing lectures given by boys in the final year. Today it is primarily a prize-giving event, where prizes are awarded to senior boys who have excelled in particular subjects. The apposition dinner is held in the Mercers Hall in London every year around May. Consequences of apposition have led to the dismissal of previous High Masters, including Thomas Freeman, for lack of learning in 1559. In 1748, High Master Charles was removed as he had allegedly threatened to pull the Master by the nose and kick him about the school. Since it was reintroduced in 1969, the ceremony today takes place in May and is purely ceremonial, incorporating prize-giving for boys in the final 2 years of the school. Buildings. The original school, which stood in St. Paul's Churchyard, was destroyed with the cathedral in the Great Fire of London in 1666. The school was twice rebuilt, first in 1670, and again in Cheapside in 1822, but towards the end of the 19th century, as London expanded and residents moved away from the City of London and its environs, it was decided that the school should move to larger premises. In 1884, a new building designed by the architect Alfred Waterhouse rose to dominate the countryside of Hammersmith. The terracotta for the Hammersmith School was made by the famous Gibbs and Canning Limited of Tamworth. At this time the street numbering was changed locally, and so the school address, whether by accident or design, became 153 Hammersmith Road. The preparatory school, Colet Court, was soon afterwards housed in new premises in a similar style on the opposite side of the road. In September 1939 the school was evacuated to East Hampstead Park, near Crowthorne in Berkshire, where, under the then High Master, W.F. Oakeshott, it became solely a boarding school for the period of the war. Playing fields and some other facilities were borrowed from nearby Wellington College, but the boys and the teachers from the two schools remained entirely separate. In the meantime, the London buildings became the headquarters of the Home Forces in July 1940 and the headquarters of the 21 Army Group under the command of General, later Field Marshal, Bernard Montgomery himself and Old Pauline. In July 1943, the 21 Army part of the military side of the invasion of Europe was planned, including the D-Day landings. The map that he used is still present in the modern-day site of the school in the Montgomery Room. The school recovered its buildings in September 1945, and resumed life essentially as a day school, although it retains a small number of boarders to this day. By 1961 it had become evident that the old school buildings were unsuited to modern educational needs. By good fortune, the opportunity then came to rebuild the school on a 45-acre riverside site at Barnes, adjacent to Hammersmith Bridge. This land had previously been the site of reservoirs which were filled in, reputedly with earth excavated during the construction of the Victoria Line. The sports pitches took a long time to settle, and competitive matches were not played regularly at the Barnes site until summer 1979. The present and fifth school buildings were opened in September 1968, to designs by architects Philip Powell and Hidalgo Moya. The new site also includes St Paul's Preparatory School, or Colet Court, whose pupils account for roughly one-half of the senior school's intake each year. The Waterhouse building on Hammersmith Road was demolished amid protests to allow building of flats, apart from the gates and the peripheral walls. The High Master's house, and a tool hut, though the Colet Court building also survives. The 1968 buildings include a 25 metres, 6-lane swimming pool and dining hall shared with Colet Court. Extensive sports facilities notably include a fencing SAL, 6 rugby fives courts, 3 squash courts and a rackets court. The location next to the River Thames meant that a rowing boat house was included in the plans, which itself included both an indoor training tank and housing to accommodate a boatman, whose primary job was to build and maintain the boats. A striking and deliberate omission from the new buildings was any provision for a school hall capable of holding all masters and boys simultaneously, and although the main sports hall is large enough to accommodate the entire school, the difficulty in setting up enough chairs means that the hall is used to house the entire school only twice per year. There were originally 2 boarding houses in the 1968 buildings accommodating up to 120 boarders, but the number of boarders has steadily declined since then and is now only 20. One of the boarding houses has been demolished to make way for a new music building, which houses the Wathen Hall. The other is in the process of being demolished, with boarders relocated to the recently renovated Colet House, the only building which remained from the previous waterboard landowners became the music department for Colet Court. The original buildings were built using a modular system of interlocking concrete slabs, known as the clasp system. This allowed for relatively quick and cheap construction, and allowed for the fact that much of the site was formed from reservoir land which was still settling. The whole complex is now in need of replacement. The only existing buildings likely to remain of the music school, incorporating the Wathen Hall from 1999 and the Rackets Court. Present day. The boys' school numbered 856 boys in 2009, the 500th year of its foundation. An ambitious total rebuilding of the school at its present site is planned to be completed over a 25-year period, while former High Master George Martin Stephen announced an aspiration for the school to be needs blind within 25 years. £250 million will need to be raised to accomplish this. The school day lasts from 8:35 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. and consists of 8 periods, including a 1 3/4 hour lunch break, during which pupils are encouraged to participate in sporting or extracurricular activities such as music, debating or computing. Pupils of all ages are not allowed to leave the school premises without permission at any time during the day. The school still maintains a boarding house. There are strong boarding house traditions, including the annual bonfire and 2 hours of compulsory study known as prep every evening. Newer traditions include the sponsored all-night five-a-side football tournament, a charity sponging event. However, the charity sponging did not take place in 2010 due to, as some boarders claim, complaints from a boarding student who had been sponged particularly often, and the future of the traditional event is unclear. The school has recently opened its state-of-the-art science wing. The wing is a 4-story building finished in February 2013, built to give university standard of workspaces and labs. It has a floor dedicated to each branch of science, e.g., biology, physics and chemistry. The bottom floor is a careers and university section for the older students. Tables with computers and spaces for students or staff to use as desks are available on all floors. A large number of music concerts, art exhibitions and plays take place each year, and pupils regularly receive national recognition for their achievements. The school also has a strong sports department. St Paul's was a founding member of the Rugby Football Union in 1871 and was preeminent in public school boxing, its first team failing to win only 2 boxing matches against first-team boxers from other schools over a period of 25 years. However, boxing was discontinued as a school sport in the 1960s. More recently, the school teams were runners-up in the Rugby U15 Daily Mail Cup in 2005 and in 2007. The boat club has won the Princess Elizabeth Challenge Cup at Henley Royal Regatta 5 times and holds the current J15 second 8 record in the school's head of the river. The school has a strong record in rugby. In 1979, the first 15 of St Paul's, nicknamed the Invincibles, went 12 matches undefeated. Big rivals for the school are RGS Guildford, King's College School, Dulwich College, St John's Leatherhead, Merchant Taylors, Wellington and Eton. Sport facilities. The school has numerous sports facilities, and sport plays a major part in the everyday lives of the boys. There is a large large sports hall, gymnasium, dojo, fencing sal, 25 meters swimming pool, 6 courts, a rackets court, 3 squash courts, a fitness center, a 100-meter sprint straight, 10 tennis courts and a multi-use games area. There is also a large boathouse, and extensive playing fields which consist of 11 football or rugby pitches during the winter months, or 7 cricket pitches during the summer months. Renewal Campaign. The Renewal Campaign is the project to rebuild the entire school campus, frequently known as the Master Plan. The majority of the current buildings date from the 1960s, and the clasp technology used in the construction of the buildings has a limited lifespan, even though over the last few years various buildings have been added on the campus wherever space was available. The dated buildings represent approximately 3/4 of the school. Local planning restrictions combined with a lack of available surplus land mean that St. Paul's is faced with progressively replacing obsolete buildings with new ones located in the same general area. The plan should eventually result in a large building footprint area increase as well as increasing the amount of staff housing. The number of car parking spaces will be reduced, but there will be much more available room for bicycles. In 2007, Nicholas Hare Architects were appointed to produce detailed designs for the first set of new buildings. Late in 2009, Richmond Council granted St. Paul's detailed planning permission, and building started in 2011. The new science block and courtyard building was completed in 2012 and won a Civic Trust Award in 2013 and a REBA London Award in 2015. 2 years later, the new Drama Centre and Samuel Pepys Theatre was completed. This building was also designed by Nicholas Hare Architects. Examinations. In 2008, for the first time, its students sat the IGCSE exam instead of the GCSE in science, following sitting IGCSE in mathematics the previous year. The school does not currently offer the International Baccalaureate as an alternative to A-level, and has suffered on many league tables as a result. Dr. Martin Stephen, former High Master of St. Paul's, has stated he believes that league tables put massive pressure on headmasters to do bad things, and announced that St. Paul's will be joining other private schools in London in withdrawing from the ISC's 2008 league tables. The school record for students gaining places at Oxford or Cambridge was 74 pupils in 2010. The school had its first student attain a place on the Prime Minister's Global Fellowship Programme in 2009. The school also has its first student win the national competition of IF's Young Business Writer of the Year 2010 award, an award for the top young business thinker. GCSE summary, last 5 years A-level summary, last 5 years High Masters of St. Paul's School. The headmaster of St. Paul's is known as the High Master and his deputy is known as the Semaster, which is also the title given to him in the statutes. The following have been High Masters of St. Paul's School, associated schools. By the end of the 19th century, the funds of the Dean Colet Foundation had increased to such an extent that the trustees decided to build a school for girls, and in 1904, St. Paul's Girls' School was opened in Brook Green, Hammersmith, just around the corner from the then site of the boys' school in Hammersmith Road. Unlike the boys', the girls' school remains in its original position, although it has expanded and constructed new buildings and facilities alongside the old. In 1881, a boys' preparatory school was founded which later became Colet Court. Colet Court is to experience change next academic year when it changes its name to St. St. Paul's Juniors to show the ever-closer bonds between the two, as stated by Nicholas Howe. Colet Court is now on the same site as the main school, and most of its pupils are expected to pass into St. Paul's School when they reach the age of 13. It thus serves as a junior school for the main establishment. Former pupils are known as Old Paulines, and may keep in touch with each other through the Old Pauline Club. Various sporting clubs are affiliated to the Old Pauline Club, such as the Old Pauline Football Club, which is the oldest old boys rugby club in the world, the Old Pauline Association Football Club, the Old Pauline Cricket Club, Colet Boat Club, which regularly races in national events, the Old Pauline Association Club, and the Old Pauline Harvey Chess Society, who have participated in many national tournaments with moderate success. The club is located on a 15-acre site in Thames.It and owns a number of sports pitches there, as well as the Colet Health and Fitness Club.